Friday. Time to get down on Friday. I don't know why I just turned around like that. I thought I heard something behind me. It might have been the Kommissar'z sneaking up behind me to put a bolt in the back of my head for not doing my job. Yeah, why are we talking about Kommissar'z in October? Well, I'm going to talk about Kommissar'z for a bit. So I grabbed some random artwork off the internet of Kommissar'z. There's a beautiful Jean Blanche piece there. Kommissar'z are kind of one of the sort of the ubiquitous things about 40k. Certainly you can't think of an Imperial Guard army without one. And nor would an Imperial Guard army be effective without one, because how else are you going to maintain discipline? So the Kommissar trope, because it's sort of definitely a trope now in terms of the language used on the uniforms and the look of it. Obviously, they came out of the Red Army, the Soviet Army in World War II, and they were essentially propaganda officers and responsible for the esprit de corps. If the Soviet Army had any esprit de corps, there's certainly a lot of sort of myths and legends and stories about, maintaining discipline by any means necessary, and that's definitely where the 40k Imperial Guard Kommissar, look at those scraggly cragglies on that guy's face, comes from. But it's October, so what do Kommissars have to do with October? Well, because my Blood Axe army's gonna have a Kommissar in it, and his name is Da Kommissar, and he rides around on a buggy. And here he is here. And I'm going to throw some paint on him today, because I thought that take a break from just assembly lining this giant pile of orc boys sitting here to show you guys sort of how I mentally plot out where I'm going to be placing the colors and what colors I want to use and sort of what my idea is. So, and you'll see on my table I have another Kommissar. This is sculpted by Chris Fitzpatrick. It's either a late 90s or an early 2000s sculpt. You can see that her pistol's been removed. She had kind of a dorky looking bolt pistol. And I think I pulled it off at one point to put a plasma pistol on there. Oh, no, she had a las pistol. She had a dorky looking las pistol. And I cut off the dorky looking las pistol to put a bolt pistol on there, because a Kommissar should have a bolt pistol, in my opinion. And then at some point that got removed and was replaced by this las pistol, which is unpainted. Now this las pistol is a very, very old bit. This is a plastic las pistol from the Plastic Imperial Guard set of the late 80s. Then you would have gotten 2 or 3 of those on a sprue with a bunch of las guns and a las cannon. So yeah, paint one guy start to finish, says Tyler. Well, that's what I'm going to try and do today. Probably won't finish him just because there's a significant amount on this model, but I pulled her out because she's sort of going to be what I sort of base his paint scheme on. So he's going to be the Kommissar, so he's going to be red, he's going to be black, and to make him sort of Kommissarish, instead of doing his shoulder pads in the typical red that I would do for my orcs, let me pull one out so you can see. So instead of doing this sort of typical armor red on his shoulder pads, I'm going to do his shoulder pads like I've done this very sort of orangey golden yellow, because I guess he saw someone with really fancy epaulets and decided he wanted the same thing. But there'll still be plenty of opportunity for red on the model. That power fist is going to be red for sure. And probably on his giant twin-linked heavy bolter here, I will do some red detailing and stuff. And then you can see down here on his pants, we'll do some red. But quick and easy, because it's going to be black. I'm going to show you my super quick and super easy recipe for doing black. And it involves this ashen gray. So we're just going to dive right into painting. So let me zoom in just a titch here. And let me get rid of the buggy. We'll drive that away. We'll drive over here. because we're not going to paint the buggy today. We're just working on the Kommissar'z today. So here we go. You can go back over there. Take my Aspen Gray. And I've got a brand new, freshly squeezed wet palette for today. So hopefully that will make this a little bit better. I find that I often don't change my water, and I'll leave my palette for like a long time with stuff on it. And now that I'm doing this on stream, I'm trying to be a bit more disciplined in how I paint, so that you guys don't see all my bad habits that I know are there. And then I'm going to take some just regular old black. This is a high density pigment black, and black is already a fairly powerful tone, very powerful shade. So I'm not going to need very much of it. I'm just going to put a little tiny squeeze, and I'm going to leave a bit of space because this is going to be some on-the-fly blending. I'm going to have to open this up, so pardon me while I jam a paper clip into the top of this and yank it out so that I clear the way. Clear the way. Share the load, Mr. Frodo. And the black is still not coming out, so now I'm worried that it's just going to I'm going to give it too much of a squeeze and it's going to come flying out, and I'm going to end up with way more black than I need. Give it up. There we go. Just about that much black. Let's get a brush. Which brush shall I use? Oh, they ask. Let's go with this brush. This is Old Haffy. This is one of my favorite brushes. Currently, it's in horrible condition, but look at that nice point on it. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe YouTube's already pulled my stream down for stealing that Falco song, but I had to at least try, right? So what I'm doing is I'm sort of blending up something that is slightly gray and slightly black, somewhere in between, but it can be dark, because this is going to be my infill color. So I'm actually just going to paint this over his legs. I want it a bit more gray. Like I said, the black is always a strong tone, and as this is a high density black, I don't need a lot to get the color that I want. I actually want something much closer to the original ashen gray, which is this nice bluey gray, which I think makes the best color for highlighting with. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. I'm just going to go underneath here. Look at all his gear on his back too, eh? He's got a pair of brass knucks. He's got a little axe because he's a blood axe, so why would, of course, he'd have a little axe there. And you can see I'm just putting this in here, and this is going to get washed over, but before it does, it's going to get brought up to a slightly lighter shade, almost with a little bit of wet blending. So I'm going to take just pure now, and I'm going to kind of go here and here. And like I said, this is quick and dirty, because I will end up going over this with it's going to get his other leg here. I am going to go over this with contrast, or at the very least a black ink wash. We will see how I feel once it's sort of dried the way that I want it. And again, I'm just eyeballing my blend here. You can see I didn't mix my paint or anything. I'm just kind of mixing on the fly, throwing down some wet paint. Tyler, did you read something about how orcs tend to mirror who they're fighting? Orcs, the Imperial officers, so they start having officers. Oh, that's just it. Yeah. So orcs are, yeah, especially if you read that in the older books, they really go into it, but generally in any of the newer stuff. And we could talk about how orcs changed, at least how space orcs changed between 2nd and 3rd edition. 3rd edition seemed to want to take things in a more serious direction with the orcs, who are always kind of comic relief in some ways to the grim dark. The difference is that I actually bought into the orcs from the Rogue Trader era orcs, the like clans and stuff, because in those books the lore is so well fleshed out and so like has its own internal logic and its own concepts of like looking at orcs as a legit species. It treats them as if they are something that exists. Yes, there are comical aspects to their lore, but at the same time, okay, let's just get rid of that. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to do some real quick little maintenance here on the old PC. Let's sorry. And delete that. There we go. Yes. All right. Back in action. Let's get back to painting now. So you can see I'm actually painting him a little bit. It's coming out like a terry cloth blue or something almost. But again, a little bit of that Black Templar contrast is going to save us. So I'm sort of blocking out these highlights on them, which hopefully you can see on the leg there. And then over here. So how's everyone's Friday going? Everyone's got big plans for the weekend. Anyone going to Daytona Beach? I don't know why. Is that a thing? Yeah. Well, I think. Well, the Gargants are the orcs building their gods, right? So when they build a Gargant, they're basically building Gork or Mork. But definitely, orcs are because they were gene bred. They were essentially created by the Brain Boys to be the ultimate survivalists in a way, and they're bred for war. Where are we going? We're going to war. War. Wog. I'm feeling a little funny today. Let's drag this across this way. And then we'll do his back here, and we'll do his sleeve. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. That might just get my whole like stream pulled down, because it's probably owned by like Warner or Sony Music, and their algorithm will hear the song, and then we'll just pull this whole thing down. So this, you may not be able to watch this stream later on. It may not be posted. That may have been a live only sort of thing. Or I'm just not important enough and it doesn't matter, or I didn't use enough of the song. How do those like reaction videos get away with it? Because they'll play almost the whole song, and I'm assuming that they have permission from the music publisher. Because aren't like all those reaction videos, aren't there like a couple of guys on YouTube that own like that concept? The like old ladies react to Slipknot. Boomers react to TikTokers, sort of thing, right? Because that's basically what our entertainment has become now, has devolved into. Because it's certainly not Hollywood movie stars anymore. I think we're moving past the point where people give any care to superheroes or whatnot. I think we're living in a post-superhero world. Our superheroes now are frontline healthcare workers, right? That's what I've been told by CNN. All right, so you can see that I've made them all nice and blue and terry cloth, so I'm just going to leave them like that. I've seen they mute videos sometimes too. Yeah, so maybe there just won't be any audio. If worst comes to worst, I can probably just cut out that opening bit and get it uploaded then. So there we go. So that's essentially everything on him that's going to be black is now black. And has some very rudimentary, not so tidy highlighting on it. Although some people might consider that pretty tidy highlighting. I'm not most people. So, and again, once it dries, you kind of look at it and go back and say, okay, so where do I need to add in more so that it stands out? Because like I said, I'm about to contrast this, and that will flatten everything out and will make all my hard work of adding these nice gentle blue highlights moot, because they will disappear. A music YouTuber I watch never plays music from Led Zeppelin or Blue Oyster Cult because it'll get cut. Even if he plays the riff from those bands, his vids will get pulled. Yeah, that's and it's most, from what I understand, it's mostly algorithm based, so it's not like it's a person that's looking at your thing. It's just it hears the sound and then immediately flags the video. So if this stream vanishes from existence, today's episode, you'll know why. It's because I played some Falco. And you know, now I've got the song stuck in my head. As my kid would call it, it's an earworm. So I'm doing his cap now, and I'll go around the front of his cap. Walk home. All right. So let's throw some contrast on that now and see how that's going to come out. Get out my Black Templar contrast. Falco is no Zeppelin. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because it's whatever music group owns it. So what is it? BMI, Sony. I think that's it, right? Isn't it just those two? No one else owns music anymore in the world. It's just those two. And again, when painting with contrast, always have some contrast medium on hand. Oh, it's a little. That's a cool little bolter. What's that from? Oh no, it's not. You know what that is? That is. I think that is a Goliath auto shotgun. I don't know. It's on my desk and it was stuck to the bottom of this. So, a music YouTuber I mentioned talks about how some bands will get him more problems than others. Well, I guess if you're in a band and your goal is to have people hear your music, then you probably don't care. But if you're in a band and your goal is to make money off of your music, then I guess your priorities would be different, wouldn't they? As far as I know, it's record companies, right, that are doing the bulk of this. So I'm just going to check down here to see how it's going on, and that looks pretty good. And we'll go over here. And again, this may be something that requires 2 coats. And if that's the case, then the second coat will have to be different than the first coat in terms of medium to pigment mix. Because otherwise you're just going over the same thing. So like the second coat may not even be a contrast coat. It may be a wash coat. But we'll see how this comes out. And obviously placing the wash where you want it to cast those sort of shadows and stuff is important. I'm just dropping some in there to preemptively, and I just grab some black paint. Getting those holes there. Let's go back over here and do the front of his coat. Now I find that a good heavy contrasting takes some time to dry, and when it's dry it will look quite different than when it goes on wet. Contrast I find actually can darken a little bit as it dries, depending. Let me get some more here, some more of that. And you can see I just leave my paint pots open. I was talking about that yesterday, about that's how I used to paint with Citadel paints, was I would just leave them. And we'll do the pant legs. with contrast because I'm going in and out of the bottle so frequently to pick up more paint. There we go. And we'll get his leg over here. Yeah. So how's that looking to you guys? To my chatty chattersons? And Tyler just says back to orcs. Back to orcs, not just any orc, the Kommissar'z. He's a very important orc, you know. He would have you know how important an orc he is. He would say, "Hey Tyler, are you fighting the enemy today? Because if not, you better get on it. Because I've been known." Let's see, there's a little. Gotta fix that. I've been known to rock a microphone. No, I've been known to shoot some fools in the face if they're not off doing their work. They're not getting their orky job done. Gotta make sure you get all the way around the legs, and then I'm gonna take some. This is black paint, and I'm just gonna kind of paint in here, so that I don't have to necessarily worry about what's going on underneath there right now. Same thing at the front here. And now I'll do his hat. I'm just giving his hat an extra few seconds to have the paint on it dry. And then we'll do the whole hat like so. I gotta stop humming that song. I could do some orc music, or I could play some troll songs. Oi, let's play some troll songs. My best friend's a gobbo. He does gobbo things. He loves to sing and dance. He pulls off butterflies' wings. Thinking makes my brain hurt. Thinking drives me dotty. I do my best thunks when sitting on my potty. That is a legitimate troll song. And if you know where that's from, you can award yourself 1 fake internet point. So there we go. So he's all contrasted up, and I can already see the contrast starting to dry, and it's going to give me the desired effect, so that when I do go back over with my gray to provide the highlights to that, it'll be good. But right now, while that's curing, I'm going to get out some red, and I'm doing this as an old school red, so I want this red to be different than... Maybe I don't. Maybe I'll just do it my regular red. I just changed my mind. It's my prerogative, right? Do you ever listen to the Goth Rockers? I have listened to the Goth Rockers. I don't know what to say about that. They're a terrible, terrible band, but a lot of fun at the same time. I guess they're supposed to be terrible. So now I need to look at this model and go, where am I putting red on him? Well, I'm going to do his toe caps here. We'll do those red. Maybe we'll do those gold. You know what? I'm gonna start with the power glove, because I said that I want that power glove to be red. So let's just start putting some red paint on that power glove. And now, you know what I should do with this guy? That's right. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Oh, Citadel painting handle. Say what? Why not, eh? Let's lock him in a painting handle. I was painting my Gazcall and I had him in a painting handle. And I don't know if these painting handles are a great idea for metal models, just because it makes them so top heavy. It raises their center of gravity so high. As a result, my Gazcall took a little tumble off my desk and he bent his sword. But you can't tell, because you can't really tell unless you look at my Gazcall and compare him to a regular Gazcall. You can't tell that the top of the sword has been bent and then rebent back into shape. And he was my gas call is a white metal gas call. I have a lead one as well. So maybe I'll repair. You know what? Here you'll be able to see here if I hold this like this. So you see the sword on the painted one and the sword on the unpainted one. The sword on the painted one at one point was bent like almost 90 degrees over this way because he toppled. He was on the painting handle, and he took a little tumble forward and landed literally straight down. So sword point down on the floor. So he fell about 3 feet or so. Not a happy day for me, but I was able to rescue it and fix it. Look at this guy. Look at this giant power fist. So tell me if the painting handle helps you. It probably is actually better for a viewer because the model itself is now more exposed and he's not cupped in the palm of my hand. Yeah. So am I gonna do those fingers red? Yeah, probably. You can see with the stuff that I'm not painting, I'll go in and do differently. So all the little cables and stuff in there. Whatever's going on out here, we'll fix it in post. We'll do it live. And then I'll probably do some like battle damage, some like chipping, weathering and stuff, so that the hand the power glove look like it's well used. Or we'll just do a cartoony and not. We'll see. It's my army. I can do what I want with it, right? And I'm allowed to change my mind halfway through, like I did already. So, hey, Inquisitors, back down in Goblin Town. Don't put that ear on it. Down in Goblin Town. Boy, did they really screw up The Hobbit in those movies, eh? Every time I watched The Hobbit, and I saw the first one in the theater because I had to go see it in the, was it 48 frames per second? I saw it in 48 frames per second on IMAX screen, and honestly, I didn't really notice the like motion blur kind of video effect that you get, because obviously regular film is 24 frames per second, and so it has this. I think a lot of people call like the movement in film, you know, our eyes are used to it, and it has sort of an ethereal quality. I think the place where it's most pronounced, and I don't know, I wonder if they still do this. NFL, the National Football League of the United States, has a films division, and they would actually film every game. So you would have these amazingly shot film reels of football plays, and watching those compared to watching a live video broadcast of a football game is such a vastly different feel to it. And that, I think, sort of more than anything, that's where you really start to understand what, you know, a 24 frame per second film shot looks like compared to your video, which is like 30 frames per second and has like artificial motion blur on it and all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to do, as well as that, the border of his coat I'm going to do in red, and the border of his coat actually starts up here. So we'll do that like that. And then he's got a little chain, which goes down to what almost looks like a crux terminatus of some kind. So that's cool. And then down, and then across. And then over here, we'll go down. And then across. Now he's starting to look like a Kommissar, right? Right? Down in Goblin Town. So yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the first Hobbit movie. Basically, the stuff in Hobbiton, I liked. So I liked the long expected party, or not the long story. The what is that? Long expected party was Bilbo's birthday in Lord of the Rings. What was the dinner party with the dwarfs falling over each other? So I liked that, and I thought they did an amazing job with Riddles in the Dark. The Goblin King stuff, not so much. The stuff with the elves just pissed me off. I mean, it was pointless. And I think that, had they made an artistic decision as opposed to a business decision, The Hobbit could have been one movie. It could have been 1 2.5-hour film. You could have squeezed everything into that, because it's essentially a heist film. So you kind of want that, like, setup, planning, and execution all in one continuous story. I know that they were talking about doing it as 2 films, and then the business decision to do 3 films came in and ruined it, because then they started pulling in a lot of supporting ideas, a lot of supporting material, and I just didn't. It was too much. You didn't need all that stuff to tell the story that you needed to tell, right? Which should have been focused on the dwarves and Bilbo, and everything else should have just been, I mean, how much time did we spend with Bard the Bowman, right? Oh, and so on the second film, the smog shit is absolutely terrible. Oh no, that's the third film. Oh, the second film, the smog stuff is terrible. In the third film, the smog stuff, the good thing, they kill him off at the beginning of the movie, right? But again, you set him up, and your whole cliffhanger of the second film is him going off to Lake Town. Spoiler alert. But the whole like forging a giant dwarf statue out of gold, and then having that gold like melt and fall on, like. Imagine if it was a Del Toro. You know what? Somewhere out there is a giant portfolio full of pre-production concept work that Del Toro's team did on the Del Toro Hobbit film, and we'll probably never see it, but I imagine it's absolutely fantastic. I think I saw one concept that it was of Smaug, and it was like an overhead of Smaug flying, and the way his wings were, it made him look like a butterfly, like an axe head, like a double-headed bearded axe, like a battle axe. Like that's what he looked like from perspective flying over, and just like ideas like that. And then if you look at movies like Pan's Labyrinth or Hellboy 2, which are just like Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy 2, I think are like Del Toro just wanting to play in the realm of European folklore. And I would love to see him do like a European folklore film at some point, which I guess Pan's Labyrinth sort of was. I'm just going to grab some black here and correct a tiny little error. You can see here where his leg meets his jacket. I just need to put a little bit of black along there. And you can see how the contrast is drawing there, and that's actually going to tell me where I need to put my highlights when it's done. A little bit more red to add. I'm going to add some red here. My best friend's a gobbo. He does gobbo. Can you see this okay? Because I'm kind of holding the model at a weird angle now. Only because I want to put this red on. My best friend's a gobbo. He does gobbo things. Something, something, and pulling off butterfly wings. And the cool thing is that he's got all these like medals and stuff on him. Really, I probably should have used this guy as my war boss, but I like the idea of him being a commissar, and then I really like the idea of him riding around on a buggy. But he probably would have been a better warlord for my army than this guy, and I'm still on the fence if this guy's going to be my warlord or if I'm going to replace him with that old war boss model. Because I've got a few more random knobs from different clans. I think I've got a Goth knob and another knob, and I kind of want to use them to make a renegade warband out of, like a freebooter warband. And that freebooter warband might be made up of like knobs from all the different clans. Like it's just a bunch of knobs from different clans that have come together to party hardy, dude. All right, so let's wash this red now. And I use my trusty rusty red black to do this. Yeah. So what's everybody painting? What are you all painting right now? What are you painting, Tyler? Bedroom walls? Use the Blood Axe Big Boss. He's just so awesome. So you're talking about this guy, right? He is one of my favorite orc models. And that power axe is absolutely fantastic. So it probably will just end up being him. Simple enough, and I'll use the other guy for something else, because I have big plans, yo, big plans. So washing here, and I'm gonna lay this on. You can see already how it's purplizing in there. That's an actual technical term. It's purplizing it. If you ever take color theory, which I've never really taken, but I've done some reading up on it. They talk about like the best thing to like shade reds with is like blues. The best thing to, what do they say? Like if you want to paint a good flesh color, use a green as your base coat. I don't know. I just paint. I don't think about it. Thinking about it is something that I should get paid to do. Since I'm not getting paid to do this, I shouldn't think, and I should just do. Okay. So, yeah. There we go. I'm currently working, but this evening I will be painting old Storm Boys and Forest Goblins. Those two things sound amazing. I actually don't own any old Forest Goblins. Like, I might have, like, one random Forest Goblin in a box somewhere. But, I was talking about this yesterday when talking about Savage Orcs and how they were never really my thing. I don't know why. I liked Orcs and Chainmail. I liked Goblins. Now, the Forest Goblin Spider Riders are awesome. And actually, in 7th edition, when they redid those models, I got a unit out of that starter box, which was Night Goblins and stuff. And I got the unit out of that starter box for the Forest Goblins. And I painted up those. So I do have a unit of 10 painted Forest Goblin Spider Riders for my Warhammer Fantasy Battle Orc and Goblin army, but they are the newer models. One day I would love to grab my hands on some of those old Forest Goblins and paint them up. I know that my buddy Alex is doing a Savage Orc Forest Goblin 4th edition Warhammer army. So there we go. So I'm just going to let that dry because that red ink, that black red ink, actually takes a little while to cure. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn my attention to this scabby git, because he needs his armored diaper here. I love how the drivers for the buggy are just literally wearing nothing but like a flak diaper. So I'm going to get... There's all kinds of noise outside. So, and then what was the other thing you were saying you're painting? Old Storm Boys. Dude, I actually want the pre-second edition Storm Boys. So they did some Storm Boys back in the day. I think there was like one piece. The other one I want, the model I really want, is I want the Freebooter Corn Storm Boy. Because that model's amazing. Somebody's phone was ringing. I'm guessing that was mine. I don't answer that phone anymore, though. It's never good news. And what else we got here? We got to do the little wrap. So I'm going to have to turn him over so that his butt's in the sky, so that his butt dries. And then maybe we'll just take a quick look at this buggy. So you can see I primed up the Goblin today, glued him on. Essentially, when I glue him on, I was going to pin his foot, but I realized I don't need to, because this will keep him in. And if I just glue him here, then that's 2 good points of contact. So this won't go anywhere. And this will be cut down to whatever size I want, and I'll put some sort of a cap piece on it that'll work out nicely. But there's my little goober goblin. So how am I gonna do the buggies? Well, I'll show you how I did all the this. And essentially, it was paint the entire thing bolt gun, then wash it, then dry brush it, and then the green paint is actually stippled over top of it. So instead of having the battle damage added, it's the chipping and stuff is actually underneath. It's actual chipping. Look at this, all these little baggies. Like, he's got all these little pouches on the back here. Isn't that cool? So I'm going to start with the underside, and I'm just going to grab some, I'm going to take some rough iron. You might have won a free trip, or you need your vents cleaned. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that I get phone calls for these days. Either that, or I get a weird message telling me that Revenue Canada has taken legal action against me for something, and I better call if I don't want to go to jail. You should keep the banner long, like actual dune buggies, so they don't hit each other jumping dunes. I do want to keep it long, however, I am restricted in height by the size of the battle foam. You can see what let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm mixing that rough iron with that bolt gun, which will just darken it up a little bit and will make the bolt gun look less like a pure metal and something more like a pig iron, which will only be accentuated when I start washing it. So, and I'm just going to do the bottom real quick, because no one's going to see it once it's based, because I'm basing all of these vehicles on giant ovals. So all my buggies will be on big, I guess I call them Age of Sigmar bases now. They're just big GW oval bases. And it just happens that they are perfectly sized for these. Like, this one is perfectly sized for the war track. And this one is almost perfectly sized for the Scorcha. The front sticks out a little bit, and I had to sort of position it so that it was as centered as possible. But this is the same size base that I'll use for all my buggies. There we go. And again, I just do the underside first because no one's going to see it, and then I know it's done. You just want to make sure you get around the axles and stuff, and you're not leaving. If it was already glued down onto the base, I wouldn't even bother. I'd just leave it black. But you know what? We can, at the very least, we can do this, and I'm not going to drill out my exhaust barrels on it because they're also facing down, so you're not going to see them. Does that make me lazy? Yes, it does. Do I care? No, I just want. I'm all about productivity right now. Is that like a little place where you could like winch something in? I wonder if that was like for a future consideration for something that it could tow. because this was the first Ork vehicle made. It was this, then they did the war track, and then the bike, and then the knob bikes. But this was the first. This was the first Ork vehicle. And it was pretty early on, too, that they made it. I guess the first Ork vehicle technically would have been the Dreadnought. But we don't count the Dreadnought, do we? And I love the, like, Herbie the Love Bug face on this thing. And the shrouded headlights, which are... You can see I'm just really laying it on here. I'm not really concerned too much about painting outside the lines. I'm just more concerned about coverage. Because there's a lot more paint to go over top of it. There's a wash and then a whole bunch of dry brushing and then paint over top of that. So should we get in here? And those shrouded headlights, which are very like World War II-y kind of thing. You see that on a lot of World War II vehicles, and I guess it's to keep the headlights from blowing light out every direction so that the enemy sees it. I guess it's a stealth thing. It's a stealth thing. He does gobbo things. So that's pretty metal. The seat I'm going to do a different color, but so I'm not worried about that right now. I just wanted to get this border around it. And again, if you miss something, you can always pick it up later. Look at the tops here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Get the top over here. And then we'll flip it back over. And we'll go underneath. Underneath there. And here. Just underneath these fenders. Because I probably won't be putting too much paint on, like green paint when it comes time to... Oh no, sorry, I'm painting this one in Kommissar'z colors. So that'll be exciting. And then it's just the hubcaps. So I'm just going to do the front hubcaps. Blah, blah, blah. Get in there. Get in there. Maybe you should have gold hubcaps. I mean, he is a Kommissar after all, right? Should have some gold hubcaps to show that he is steady ballin'. And if you don't know, the tires are branded and it says bad year. Let's see if I can highlight that up a bit so you can see bad year. There you go. Fantastic. Bad year. And there we go. That's that. So that is the quick and dirty base coat on that. Let us see. Or red, because red, yeah. Hubcaps. You gotta have spinning rims, man. And this spinning and this spinning. Let's just get his little rack and peanut steering here. There we go. And then let's go back over here and see what's going on. So the red wash is still drying, you can see. And it's still kind of pooling where I want it, but it's not in other places. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more like that. And then like that, so that what will happen is that gravity will pull that down and I'll get a nice dark shadow underneath. As for the rest of it, this process often requires 2 coats. Just because of the nature of the secret weapon wash. It's pretty watery. But I find that once you put the first coat down, the second coat actually adheres a lot better. to the dried first coat, and gives you a little bit better control as to where the pigment ends up. I wonder if you guys can hear that. That's my neighbor. He's an elderly gentleman, and sometimes I can hear him clearing his throat through the wall. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I just heard that. So there we go. And then we'll just do his cap again. Mainly because I'm going to want to pick out that stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. Just a bit more up top here for definition. And then around, especially like here, like around where the finger meets. I mean, I'm going to go in there with some proper ink and stuff, like probably some black ink to pick out those fingers anyways, but I kind of want to create the illusion of shadow. That's what painting all is. Painting's an illusion. So we'll put him back over there, and then we'll just wait. We'll just wait for it to dry. I don't even have a watch. So yeah, that is painting Kommissar'z 101. Looks pretty good. So what do you think about those toe caps? Should I do them gold? Should he have gold toe caps? Should I do his shoulder pads gold? That's the better question. Like I said, I was gonna do them like kind of like a bright yellow to sort of mimic hers, but now I'm kind of thinking I just want to do them gold. And if I do his shoulder pads gold, then I'll do his toe caps gold. So that'll sort of carry on. And then he's got some other stuff, like he's got a necklace around his neck. He's got a bunch of medals and stuff. So I may end up with a lot more gold on this model than I initially intended. But that's kind of where my head is going right now, because I want him to look like he saw a Kommissar. He was out fighting some Imperial Guard one day, and he saw a Kommissar just capping his own dudes and was like, "That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I want to be capping my own boys." So. Oh no, my giant mushroom fell down. Want to see something cool? He's gonna be Blood Axe, because I'm doing an all Blood Axe army. So he will be a Blood Axe, and he's got a Blood Axe symbol on his giant belt buckle, and he's got a Blood Axe symbol on his hat. So what else could he possibly be, right? And then this guy will be my war boss. The war boss. He's got the Blood Axes and the giant axe and a couple of more hand axes. Boy, this guy is just kitted out, eh? He's got a dagger. You know what he doesn't have? A gun. He's got no gun. I gotta take take advantage of that ballistic skill 6 he's got. So maybe I'll make some like little grunt behind him carrying like a giant combi weapon. That'd be kind of cool to do. Could figure that out. Great. Now one more thing for me to figure out. But he has a stick bomb. He does have a stick bomb, and he's got like a little pineapple grenade here as well. So he's got his potato masher and his pineapple, and then I think he's got a couple more potato Oh no, he doesn't. I thought he had another potato masher hanging off his belt. And I like that he's got. I do like that he has binoculars though. Because of course he does, and he's got some medals as well that he's obviously given to himself. And he's got a little bolt here. So he's got a marksmanship trophy that he probably took off a dead space marine. Well, that was interesting. The power just flickered. If the power goes out, I'm just going to say bye by now, because everything just flickered in here. So, yeah. Let's see what we can do. So let's throw some gold down, because I want to see what this looks like. And if I don't like it, then great thing about paint is you can paint right over it. But I think this will look good. And this may mean that I add some gold to his ride as well. So, like always, I'm using Retributor Armor as my base for my gold, because that is, right now, in my opinion, It's the best gold paint on the market. The best gold paint on the market, guaranteed. And I'm going to start... Well, I guess I should start with his shoulder pads, right? If that's... Because that's going to be pretty gold. That is very, very gold. Let's see what we can do here. What are we thinking so far? Whew, that's gold. I mean, I'm going to wash that down. And it will, in this way, he will stand out huge from the rest of my army because there's not a lot of gold in the rest of my army. I think I did the shoulder pad on this guy. I did it like a brass, kind of like a brassy, which might actually be better, which is this gold mixed down with the rough iron, because this gold is very versatile in that respect. So what do we think? Are we feeling the Judge Dredd? Well, I think you just convinced me this is the way to go then. As soon as you mentioned Judge Dredd, I'm pretty much feeling the gold now. I mean, this guy, he is going to be the biggest knob. So there's 4 different levels of knobs. So this guy will be the highest level of knob, is what's called a clan boss. So, good old clan boss. Oh, I'm doing that off camera. That's not helpful, is it? And you can see that this gold goes on nice and evenly and fairly smoothly in one coat, which is another reason why I really like it. Even though it is quite a bright gold, but like I said, it's versatile in that you can change it by mixing it with other metallics, and it can give you nice different effects on that sort of stuff. Oh, I'm doing it upside down again. It's this damn painting handle, I tell you. How are we feeling about those shoulder pads? I'm gonna do his boots now, because I think I need to see it with the gold toe caps here. That he would have had, he would have paid, or not paid, because you don't pay goblins, or you don't pay Gretchen. You let them live. So he probably would have had his shoe shine. He probably has a shoe shine Gretchen. Maybe that's who this little guy hanging off here. Maybe that's what this guy's name is. He's called the boot polisher, and he polishes this guy's boots. Wow, that is gold. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this right now. If you guys come back on Monday and all this gold is some other color, you'll know that I changed my mind over the weekend at some point and decided to. I don't hate it. I think there's more gold to be put on the model, though, so I kind of want to see, like, his belt buckle here. This giant belt buckle needs to be gold, for sure. Which means that the necklace on top of it will have to be silver. Otherwise, it's just too much. Too much of the same gold. So there's a belt buckle. So now he's looking really orky, though, that's for sure. I mean, I'm not going to say he doesn't look like he's really orky. He sure does. And then we've got these little crossed axes up here, which I'm putting this on now so that I can see whether or not this is the way in the light. And that is pretty much it, eh? There we go. Well, I like it. I like it enough right now. His clan plate on the back here, I'll probably end up doing that red. Now that I see that everything else, the gold. How are we liking that gold? Are you streaming on Monday? It's a holiday. My kid will be home. There may not be a stream on Monday. Or if I do something on Monday, I'll do something different. Maybe I'll do something with her. Maybe I'll bring her in and expose her to the horribleness of the world. I mean, I don't know. She keeps asking me, Daddy, when can I be on stream with you? So maybe we'll do something on Monday and she can paint an orc on Monday. Because she likes to paint orcs. She has a bunch of orcs that she's painted. Generally duplicates of orcs that I've given her. Which means that she's painted like old classic Kev Adams orcs from the early 90s. I don't know what this metal is here, but to me it looks like it should probably be gold. I'm just trying to see how much gold is actually going to end up on this model. Or how much gold could potentially end up on this model. And if it's too much gold, then... although now every time I add more gold, I like it more. So the more gold I'm adding, the more it works for me. What do we got going on in the back here? He's got some... I would almost even consider doing that backplate gold as well. And then I can just put a nice Blood Axe decal over that. Oh, you know what needs to be gold? These brass knucks. I'm going to do a Jim Ross impression here. Who's got those damn brass knucks? There we go. Got some brass knucks. What else? And when it comes time to wash those, I'll wash those completely different, so that it's more of a brass as opposed to a gold. So how are we feeling about that gold, fellas? I'm liking it only in that I want to see it finished before I can really decide. So I actually probably need to see it washed before I can decide if I actually want to keep that gold. And that's just the way of the world. So I'm going to grab some of what I was using on the buggy, and I'm going to paint this bolter. Because another thing that may help me figure this out is seeing just how much metallic is going to end up on this model. I do want to put some color onto this bolter. So... And I do like that he has, like, he's got so many weapons hanging off him too. So he's got an axe, because orcs get a hand weapon for free. You don't have to pay for that; they just get it. Because all orcs have a hand weapon somewhere. I have no idea what this is supposed to be here. Maybe I'll do the back plate in this metal as well. And then he's got a knife hanging off him, which I assume is a sheath knife. But if you kind of look at it, it almost doesn't look like a sheath knife. It almost looks like he's just got like a knife literally hanging off his waist. But I'm just going to paint the rest of this. Quick and dirty. Don't have to worry about coverage because it's going to be washed pretty heavily. And anything that, when I'm just going over the top, anything that's still gray, that's still that dark gray, is just going to get covered in wash. So just wash it down a little. It's going to be a little over the top. It'd be cool to scuff up the shoulders like it's fake tarnished gold. Oh, no, he'd have real gold, man. Gold pressed latinum. Straight from Ferenginar. Straight from the finest mints on Ferenginar. So there's this giant twin-linked heavy bolter that he's just one-handing, because he's that kind of an orc, that he just one-hands twin-linked heavy bolters. And then his little necklace thingy here. Again, I need to see these colors on him before I can really decide whether or not that gold is... And if I was going to change the gold anywhere, it would be on the shoulders and the knees. I'd leave all the rest of this stuff gold. And then there's like some little armor bits in here that we'll throw some silver on, and those again continue up under here. So that's all good. That's all good in the hood. And we'll put some here because it looks like he's got like a studded belt, which I'm assuming is because he is a Judas Priest fan. Yeah. This guy definitely likes Priest. And then we'll put a little bit in here. Let's see what I'm doing there. Putting it in the inside the glove here where these pipes and whatnots are. And then I'm not going to do any more on the hand because I have to go over with the red. And once I go over with the red, then like I could do this, and I could do this, and then these little cables that are going into the fingers. But I may just have, when I finish highlighting the red, I'll probably find myself in a position where I just have to go back and redo what I'm doing right now, because it's possible they won't stay. But I just kind of want to see, and I do this a lot where I'll just plot out colors because I need to see how it all sort of is going to work together once it's dry, or once it's done, I should say. So he's got some metals that will be hidden here, and we can make those silver or whatever. And he's got some metals over here that I'll just try and see if I can get to. He's got more of that studded belt going on here, which we'll try and get to. You probably can't even see that I'm painting it because it's buried. It's hidden behind that giant bolter. Yeah, so you know what I'm going to do now? I'm just going to put him aside. Wait a few seconds. And let's go back and look at our buggy and see where that's at. So that's pretty dry, so I can mix up some wash to wash this now while he's doing his thing over there. And by his thing, I mean while he's drying over there. So again, strong tone, and where's my dark tone? And dark tone. And I'll probably go a little bit heavier with the dark tone on this because it is a larger piece of kit, but it needs that strong tone to make the wash a little bit more brown. And then we'll add some dark tone. And not this brush, but this brush. And do I even need to wash the bottom? Well, I'm going to, just for my hobby ADD, and to make sure that, the wash is coming out the way that I want it to, which it totally is, because it's not like I haven't mixed this wash a billion times in my life. Yeah, and I'm just quickly covering the bottom, not worrying too much about it, because like I said, this thing's going to be on a base, so you're not even going to see the bottom of the vehicle. And I'm not even going to drill out these exhaust things on it either, because you're not going to see it. And we'll get around the hubs, the Widow hubcap, or not the hubcaps, the fenders here. I'll do the hubcaps last because I'm probably going to have to hold on to the model there. And that's another thing, is figuring out where you're going to hold on to the model while you're painting it. Yeah. Get that Herbie the Lug Bug look on the front there. You know what he actually reminds me of? Anyone watch Robot Chicken? You know there's the love bug in Robot Chicken is what the face actually reminds me of. When he gets assaulted by the humping robot. Oh, good old Robot Chicken. And if you don't know what Robot Chicken is, then I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but stop motion animation ain't one. There we go. Did I mix up enough wash? Probably not. Do I need to mix some more? Most assuredly so. So I'll do that now. So, what time is it? 1:15. Okay. There we go. And again, laying it on top, I want to, like on the engine and stuff, I want to lay it on real thick because the engine's probably not getting any paint over top of it afterwards. And then here you kind of want to lay it on thick, again, because it's just going to give you better contrast and better shadows over top of the engine. And then down, and then I will use washes and dry brushes to make this engine look more like an operating engine. I might even add some like heat scoring to these exhaust pipes, which will be done with like purple ink and brown inks and stuff. Yeah. So that's good. What do the orcs say? Job's a good one. The only thing I need to do is the hubcaps. Hubcap. 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 And hubcap. Let's get under there just to make sure that we're creating that. And then I'm just going to pick this up and put it over here. Oh, where it can dry. And then back to you. And I'm going to use the same wash. Because waste not, want not. So I'm going to use the same wash on his gold. And now we're really going to see, once this wash is cured, I will have a much better idea as to whether or not this gold is staying or this gold is going. And I can see right now that I think this gold is going to stay. I think he needs to be an ostentatious, fancy orc. He has clearly discovered his true calling as the Kommissar, and you know, if he was a renegade, he would he would be a flash git for sure. So yeah. Again, the thicker you lay it on, the darker your shadows are going to be, the more contrast you're going to have between your recesses and your higher bits. So, and you kind of want to keep it even. That can be a trick, is making sure that the wash is even on both sides and that it's pooling in the same places that you want it to, right? That's easy enough. And then I said I would do those brass knucks differently. I will. I promise you that. I'm just going to lay some more on here, like this and like this, because I think that will flow away nicely from there and give us, basically let gravity do the work now, right? And then sometimes you got to pull it back a little bit, right? All right, I'm gonna let that cure, and we'll see how that looks eventually. So let's go back and look at old flak pants here, flak diaper. Oh, well, we can do that too. And then that goblin, the little shoe shine goblin that's hanging off the banner pole. He's probably going to get his own episode because I will just paint him in one sitting. Easy peasy. All right. Whoo, yeah. So, how's it going? Let's go back over here to our... yeah, look at that guy. So, yeah, Kommissar'z are one of the more, like, sort of 40K-ish things. They've really become their own trope in a lot of ways. They sure have come a long way since the Red Army, right? You know, and there's a classic piece of Kommissar artwork there with the you've got Kommissar'z and Space Marine chaplains all together, and I kind of like that. And then here's another classic piece with the Kommissar ordering those poor pathetic guardsmen off to their death. And I love that giant. I love that plasma cannon in the back there, and that giant like whoosh of pure plasma. And there's a Jean Blanche, so that's probably a third, maybe a fourth edition piece that he did. Actually, that looks a lot like a third edition piece. So I wonder if that's in the third edition Guard Codex or where that might be from. Just the way that's definitely the way he was painting at the time. And here's Wrath and Glory. So this is the Warhammer 40k RPG that apparently is not very good. And I kind of knew it wouldn't be very good looking at what they wanted to do with it, because it seemed to be more about like providing player option than really focusing in on what 40k RPG should be. What a 40k RPG should be is what Fantasy Flight Games was doing, and Black Industries before that, because it was Black Industries was the Games Workshop RPG imprint that they published. Dark Heresy, the first edition of Dark Heresy was published under Black Industries, and my copy's Black Industries because I bought it. And then they basically moved that all to FFG because it was all external. It was all externally contracted writers, anyways. So it was just easy enough to sell the license to FFG and tell those guys, hey, you're now working for them, but you're doing the same thing. And Dark Heresy is a masterpiece of an RPG, I think. I have the second edition version of the game as well, and I think it does definitely improve on things. Your characters are less like low-level acolytes and more like inquisitorial henchmen, which is in first edition you were much lower-level acolytes. They did put out a book that was like, do you want to play an inquisitor? Do you want to play really powerful characters? Like, do you want to be an assassin? Do you want to be, something a little bit more powerful than a former guardsman who's been picked up by the Inquisition to basically be a minion, right? But yeah, I really like Dark Heresy. And then after Dark Heresy, they did they do Rogue Trader before Death Watch? No, I think maybe Death Watch was the second one. So then they did Death Watch, which is the Space Marine RPG, which they said could never be done. They said, oh, you could never RP as a Space Marine because you're just these mindless automaton soldiers. And doing it as Death Watch, made it so you could basically have like guys from different chapters mixed in. And another, just a fantastic amount of work put into those games. I love this. That's the man, Kommissar Yerrick himself, and that Orc Power Claw. I kind of want to get one of those old Kommissar Yerricks and take that Orc Power Claw off and put it back on an Orc model. So if anyone has an old Yerrick out there that they're not using, let me know. Because, yeah, I would love to take that claw back and add it to an Orc. I think that would look cool, considering it is an Orc Power Claw. That's what we were talking about. And then they did Rogue Trader, which was really cool, because it had like rules for ships and stuff. It's just really too bad that FFG lost the Games Workshop license, and I'm 100% sure that had to do with the Asmodee FFG merger, because it all seemed to happen around the same time. All of a sudden, FFG's got to sell off all their. They just put out the second edition of Dark Heresy, and I guess they were about 6 months into the release schedule of the second edition of Dark Heresy when all of a sudden Asmodee and FFG are merging, which was really just Asmodee buying FFG. And FFG is now losing the Games Workshop license, which covered not just the RPG stuff, but like there was a Horus Heresy board game. There was Relic, which was the 40k version of Talisman. Some other board games. They also did some like reprints. I was looking to see if my copy was up there, but like they did a reprint of like Fury of Dracula, so like old 80s Games Workshop board games that they had published. So Fury of Dracula, Talisman, and Chaos Marauders, which is like this cool little goblin-y card game, which the artwork for it is absolutely amazing. and it's a fun little game too. They re-released a bunch of old GW board game stuff, and they had the licenses to do all that stuff. And it seemed like they had a really good working relationship with Games Workshop in terms of like being able to produce material that was canon, right? Because there are references, there's stuff that's in the Dark Heresy books that is sort of referenced in some of the 40K stuff later on, and then vice versa as well. So it seemed to me like it was a match made in heaven. The team that they had working on it was great. Oh, and they did 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which a lot of people hate, and I totally understand the hate, because it was a very new, different thing. It had all these custom dice mechanics and all these cards. One thing I've said about FFG is they love the cardboard plunder. If you look at like games like X-Wing or any of that stuff, it's just you have cardboard dials and decks of cards and counters that fit into other counters, and like FFG just loves that sort of design idea for games, and it kind of worked for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition. I think that if it had been a role-playing game for another intellectual property, it probably would have been really successful, but because it was coming from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and there's a lot of like baked in concepts to that. I mean, Dark Heresy, so the 40K RPG system is the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay system, you know, basically rewritten for, but it's the same thing. It's a percentile system. All your stats are you've got your movement, your weapon skill, skill, strength, toughness, initiative, wounds, all that stuff, right? So you've got all that in the Dark Heresy core system, which was also the core system for all the other RPGs that they did. And I think that if they had stuck with that and just sort of done Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition as a cleanup of the Hogshead Publishing / Green Ronin, was it Green? Who did 2nd Edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? It was Hogshead took over 1st Edition, because Games Workshop's like come in and out of wanting to do role-playing games. Like they put out Stormbringer, they put out Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, then they did a bunch of stuff for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and then decided, so they gave it to, they made Flame Publications, which was like their RPG imprint. Then they gave it to Hogshead, which I think were just basically, they just created a separate company to do it. And then they did Black Industries when it came time to do Dark Heresy. And I guess Games Workshop probably management looked at the money, the time, and the time to develop a role-playing game requires a lot of development, requires a lot of time of the writers to do it, because you've got rules, and then you've got lore, and then you've got to somehow mesh those together, and then you also have to figure out what goes in the core book, what's going in the supplements, what kind of product mix do we need? Do we need a Game Master screen? Yeah, you always need a Game Master screen. Game Master screens are... I actually collect Game Master screens. I have Game Master screens for RPGs I've never played. Just because I liked the artwork on the other side of them. So yeah, I think I'm going to cut the stream there today, and we'll take one last look at how Kommissar'z is doing. Yeah, so he's looking pretty good. So what I may do is, and if you're wondering about, I don't know if any of you are wondering, but I'm probably not going to be doing an art show tomorrow. I've got errands I need to be running. I'm just going to wash his. Let's get a bit more of the dark tone. And quickly wash his gun, because that's something that should have been done. Yeah. So I'm not going to do. I may do an art show tomorrow. We'll see. I have errands to run in the morning, so it definitely won't be in the morning if I do it. And I know what I want, what books I want to go through, and it's definitely ORKTOBER-ish in terms of what it is I want to look at. But I don't think I'm going to be able to manage the art show tomorrow. Need some gold on the gun, the orc with the golden gun. I'm going to add some color to the gun, and I may add some like yellows and reds or something to make the gun a little flashy. I almost want to make anything that's gold. I almost want to make the shoulder pads like orangey yellow, like my original intention for her epaulets. And then the toe caps I would do in red. I don't know. I'm gonna have to dwell on it. I'm gonna have to think about it because I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if I'm feeling the gold, and it could just be that it needs to be finished in order for me to feel it. But right now I'm not feeling the gold. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if I should keep the gold or if I should abandon it now and save myself the hassle of finishing it and then realizing I don't like it and then painting over it and that being a giant pain in the ass, because that would be a giant pain in the ass. I'm just gonna do his belt here, and you can see I'm pretty sloppy at this point because again this is all washes and stuff, and it's all gonna get gone over again to get it where I want it. But I want to get this stuff onto the model. So what do you think? You guys feeling the gold? Yellow next to the green skin would be too Bad Moonish. Not if it was like an orangey yellow. Like Bad Moon yellow typically tends to be a very bright and vibrant yellow. Whereas the yellow I'm thinking I would do would be more like an orange highlighted up, right? But I'm not hating the gold. I think I almost think at this point I need to see the skin. I need to see the green skin to see how it works with the gold, just because it's basically sandwiched in between those shoulder pads, right? So however his face comes out may dictate how I carry on. But I'm not. The more I look at it, the more it's growing on me. I'm not totally sold yet. Like I'm not in love with it, but I could definitely see myself warming to it as I go forward. So yeah. So that's the Kommissar'z for today. And wow, if there's no show tomorrow, there's no art show tomorrow, and no stream on Monday, that means that the next time I'm going to be doing this is Tuesday, so that's like 4 days. So maybe I think what I'll do, and if I can over the weekend, it's just tomorrow's going to be a crazy day for me, literally a crazy day. If that's the case, then I guess I'll see you guys Tuesday. So yeah, so thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, and I will see y'all on the next one. So same orc time, same orc channel. See you on the flippity flop. Peace out.